Welcome back. Don't you just love government bureaucracy, which adds more and more red tape where it is just completely unnecessary? What exactly motivates agencies and departments to make up these nonsensical extra steps? Well, if you ask me, it's almost like there's some sort of scam. As our next guest highlights how Big Oil has teamed up with Big Green and Biden to restrict offshore oil production, which exposes a new rule issued by the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management for what it really is, something very fishy. The new rule increases the amount of money offshore oil companies must hold to cover decommissioning costs by $6.9 billion. Guess they think it's just a drop in the bucket for the current $34 trillion in federal debt. Joining us now to break it all down, founder and CEO of the American Energy Institute, Jason Isaac. Jason, thanks for being back with us. It's great to see you.
Alison, great to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Well, Jason, break this down for us. Tell us more about what is going on here.
Yeah, the unlikeliest of allies. You would think Big Green partnering with Big Oil and their trade association, the American Petroleum Institute, having up to 9 meetings with the Biden administration to propose new rules on offshore drilling. These new rules only affect the small producers, though, and as you said, $6.9 billion is the cost estimate. But the cost only over the last 75 years has only cost $58 million to plug these abandoned wells. So a $58 million problem is now going to cost small oil and gas producers $6.9 billion. This is Big Oil squeezing out their smaller competition, which makes up 76% of the oil and gas producers that work offshore. This is just terrible collusion by these people that you would think would be fighting against one another, but they're partnering together just really to make energy more expensive, scarce, and ultimately it'll be government controlled. And that's the last thing that we want.
It sure is, but unfortunately, I cannot say I am too surprised by this. It seems like they're always colluding to screw over the American people, for a lack of a better word. But this isn't the only way in which the American people are being just outright scammed. A waste-to-fuel company called Fulcrum Bioenergy is reportedly teetering on collapse now. Can you tell us a bit about what this company did and how American taxpayers will ultimately be paying for this one yet again?
Gosh, you think prices at the pump are high now? Imagine paying $3 million per gallon, because that's what happened in this case. You had over $1 billion of private and taxpayer dollars raised to produce 350 gallons of biofuel. That's just under $3 million a gallon. The last time I checked, it's not that expensive. I think the Biden administration would prefer that we paid $3 million a gallon. That would really lock us in our homes, and I think they enjoyed that during the COVID lockdowns. But Americans want affordable, reliable energy, and we're seeing the pain in the prices at the pump. It's affecting every aspect of the economy. And this is just a gamble of taxpayer dollars that shouldn't have happened. It's absolutely absurd. We produce energy more responsibly in this country than anywhere else on the planet. We need to be producing more gasoline and more diesel so Americans can move around at a lower cost.
Absolutely, that would be great. But of course, that is not what they want for us, is it? It just really seems like a tangled web the establishment weaves for us. Going over now to Capitol Hill, a U.S. House panel found Wall Street actually colluded to, quote, curb emissions. What's this one all about? Break this down for us, if you will.
Yeah, this is something that my work at the Texas Public Policy Foundation, we've published extensive reports on this, and we've talked about this corporate collusion. And corporations are legally barred from engaging in group boycotts, and that's exactly what they're doing. You've got these groups like the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero. This is a Michael Bloomberg founded and funded organization that's partnered with the UN, partnered with the world's largest financial institutions, pressures other institutions to get together and deny access to capital to responsible American energy producers. I call this the ESG agenda, the China ESG agenda, because it does primarily benefit China. It exports productions of goods that we make here in this country more responsibly than anywhere else on the planet and just shifts that demand and the production to China. The demand doesn't decrease. The cost of everything increases when we do this. But these world's largest financial institutions have been colluding, and this is what The Jim Jordan's committee found in Congress that companies like BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street and others are investing in American energy companies and forcing them to comply with international treaties like the Paris Accord, which are not the law of the land here in the United States. I think it's treasonous. It is certainly anti-America, and China is loving every minute of it.
Wow, that is pretty horrifying, to say the least. Do you think anyone will be held accountable for their actions? Because it really seems to me like corporations in foreign countries are just always constantly trying to figure out ways to cash in on American taxpayer dollars.
Well, they are being held accountable now. I had the opportunity to work on some legislation that became law in Texas in 2021 that says if you boycott or sanction fossil fuels, you're no longer welcome to do business with the state of Texas. And earlier this year, our State Board of Education that oversees a permanent school fund of over $50 billion divested $8.5 billion that BlackRock managed because BlackRock is on the boycott list in Texas because of their actions against responsible American energy corporations, forcing them to bend the knee to these political agendas like ESG and DEI and decarbonization, things that don't do anything to improve the human life, actually make it worse because everything is more expensive with these policies, and it doesn't do anything to improve the environment. We've already proved in this country that we're world leaders in environmental protection.
Amazing stuff. Great points. Well, Jason, we are all out of time for today. Thank you so much for breaking all that down. And reminder to everyone, keep living a high carbon lifestyle. Thank you so much, Jason.
Thank you.
Take care.
For all our viewers,